It's the final countdown.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Welcome, everyone. I don't really know how to express in polite terms to the viewers what the last 60 seconds have been like for us. But I'll say this.
Honestly, all I will say to you, the viewers, is that Nikki got naked on camera.
Sure.
Fucking what?
It's been grueling. Honestly, it's been grueling. So welcome. It's Wicked Wednesday, but we are not playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Wait, I've been lied to?
Yeah.
We have finished we've finished one campaign, and this is that little strange space between one campaign and another, where we're going to look back at the Lighthouse of Eisodos and chat about it a little bit. And I'll reveal some secrets, and people will talk about their characters and answer all of your questions. And never fear if you have just popped into this stream and like, what are you guys all about? Oh, you're talking about something I didn't watch. Because first of all, I'll inform you what happened, and second of all, I think a lot of what we're chatting about today will feel a little bit like world building stuff. And like, so if you're wanting to be a DM, or if you're building a world, or if you're wondering about storytelling in D&D, then well, I hope we'll have something to offer you as well. Yeah.
I believe the children are the future. If we teach them well and let them lead the way,
Nikki, you
show
got
us
your
all.
balls off. What are you talking about? You've got no fucking... got no ground or balls to speak of right now.
You've got no balls to stand on.
Anyway,
so, listen,
Lydia.
Quick announcements. You know what we always kick off with, and that is that we love our mods very much, and they are automatic flash, they are Rooney Runes, they are sweet poison, they hold down
Whoa. Lydia,
You keep forgetting one.
you've forgotten one for a while, and granted you weren't here when they were modded, and they've just wielded their mod sword with expert precision, and I think they need to be added to the list.
Well, this is interesting because I didn't know that Joshy Longlegs was sort of actively a mod and not just
this is
a
interesting.
dink mod.
Are we going to have this annual general meeting right now?
Welcome to the AGM.
Get him in the call. Let's have it out.
It was
so
originally
sorry.
a link service thing, but you know he's come to relish his post.
Yeah, that guy. I mean, luscious.
I thought you were going to say something else there for a second.
No, I've not got
Good.
a bad word. I've only got good words for that one. Which leads me tidily on to, you know, Joshy Longlegs has a podcast. I mean, not him. It's oh fuck. It's Dice
You
and
got this.
Slice, and that podcast is incredible. Before, you know, minus us, it's incredible, and do check it out on podcast platforms, which were they're incredible, and that's why we wanted to leech some of the talent out of half of the team. And so Wicked Slice, but also Monday,
The first one's out.
first one's out.
Yeah, and can I just say, I listened to it.
Same.
First 7 minutes, I was almost in tears. Like, I was walking to work and I was almost in tears. It's so good. Go
Tom,
check it out.
I don't really know how to say this, but in the next episodes, you're gonna have to snot will fly. I'm not joking you, it gets totes emotion.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it is. You're gonna really
Very good.
enjoy it. So, you know, check that shit out. And I've got another thing that I would really like to say, which is finally the message has got through to some other heroes that they are not allowed Michelle anymore.
The problem is, Lydia, you sent them all by pigeon.
Yeah, and they were dead, so I can see how that wouldn't work. But though Skier is no longer being who she is, being who Skier is in that group, it's such a treat, and they're every week now.
Every Sunday.
Every third day?
Sorry.
Every Sunday.
Lydia.
I'm a bit deaf at the moment, guys. Please be kind. So we love those guys. What else have we got to say? Tomorrow, Dragon Age. I think normal time. So just rock up and watch us be livid as always.
Rock up
We
with your
have
cock
some
up.
We have some of the most chaotic chats in that.
Like when
We
Lydia
do.
said that Rakshasas have backwards dicks and that
Yeah.
their balls were hanging off the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Listen, I'm here for it.
Yeah,
it's true. It's canon.
taking
It's
that back, and
fair.
I'm not regretting it. I said what I said.
Kink unlocked.
Every week
It comes
we
up like the Dark Souls "You Died" font.
it's always fun, even if you're not into Dragon Age. Come and watch Michelle and I cry with laughter over some random bit of bullshit.
Yeah.
So that is that. Do we have any other announcements?
Darkest Days. If you're enjoying Elden Ring or Bloodborne or Dark Souls or any of those gothic horror things, friend of Michelle's circle of friends is. I don't really know how do you classify people that you've met like only at
An
cons?
acquaintance of a sister-in-law of
Someone
We
that-
run in the same circles.
Yeah, someone that runs in Michelle's circles. I said we. I don't run in those circles. I don't run anywhere. They've made a TTRPG called Darkest Days. It's on Kickstarter. It is funded, and if they reach a stretch goal, they get loads more art and a print. And if you're one of the first few, you get a pin. And there's still some pins left. I think there's like 15.
Yeah, there's not many.
15,
But it
and that's
looks
like
so
25
good,
quid for a physical book, a digital book, and a pin.
Yeah.
It's great. And the art is like Georgia and Bex and like people we all know. And, it's wonderful.
It's wonderful. Everyone involved is wonderful. That is what I
Check
would
it.
say. Check
I'm
it.
wonderful, guys.
No. Anyway.
So folks. Oh,
Wait, what is that feedback?
No, I could hear the stream.
Yeah.
Can you hear it right now?
No.
That was my fault.
Thanks, Tom.
So, do we have anything else to say?
Right, so,
Right.
overview. Dyson and Slice, check them out.
Done.
Some of the Heroes, check them
Done.
out.
Yeah.
Darkest
Days on
Darkest
Kickstarter.
Days on Kickstarter,
Yeah.
check it out.
Mods.
Mods.
Beastie Boys, check them out. What's it all about?
Right. So moving on.
Yes.
I guess roll the tape.
It's also not roll the tape, doll. There's
Roll
no
the
tape
thing.
to roll.
But instead, what I'll do is give a basic overview of what the fuck we got up to.
Yeah.
So, 3 people, all kind of running from something, decided to take a job, and the job posting sounded very much like this. Decent pay for a year in paradise looking after a lighthouse, which they all went, great. Grabbed it, took the ship, the Gentle Marais, to these islands and quickly discovered that it was a big ass job. You got to keep the lighthouse running. It's the most important thing. There's strange magics on the island, and but they sort of tried to settle into it pretty quickly. Tried to get the island set up. They were essentially completely alone, but for a kind of hermit old lady who was a priestess of Tyr. She was the god of storms and tempests. So they sort of cracked on, and Mav, who was Tom's character and I think he's below me, and he was a magician. What the fuck? What game are we playing?
Magician, Lydia. He's a magician.
Oh, you've absolutely sold him down the fucking river with that.
If somebody called Mav if someone was at a fucking party and said, "This is my friend Maverick, he's a magician," Mav would die immediately. 100 points of psychic
Start
damage.
turning tables.
Just immediately, not friend.
I think that would be the only thing to provoke Mav to physical violence when he punches someone in the back. Gideon, you drinking wine out of a goblet?
She sure is.
Now,
This is D&D, bitch.
he's a wizard,
Yeah.
so he was trying to get his head around the lighthouse itself and the magics involved in the lighthouse, which was a great curiosity to him. It very quickly became apparent to the lighthouse keepers that strange things were afoot. And now, in retrospect, we understand that the island was teaching them all things. They had lessons to learn. And, but also, Michelle's character was died on the way over. I mean, that was something I
Fully
forgot.
dead. Yeah.
She died, but she was brought back with a warlock's pact. And she arrived on the island sort of not truly realizing that her patron just lived under the island and was in trouble. And so about at the halfway point, it occurred to her that she needed to help him out, that they were being held hostage by a cult of Saugeen. And with the help of some Triton friends and her lighthouse friends, her patron was saved. A kind of strange, shadowy serpent octopus man. Elle died. That happened.
Also died. Matt was the only one who didn't die.
Yeah.
Emotionally, though.
Emotionally. Died several times over.
His career.
Elle had been plagued by a kind of assassin, an elf assassin that kept turning up on the island, trying to kill him, and then bursting into dandelion seeds. And eventually he just succeeded at what he was trying to do.
Elle made the ultimate sacrifice to save a crab.
All right, potato. And Mav, who is a divination wizard or divination magician, more accurately.
Yeah, the magician.
Was getting divination dreams, but also other sorts of visions. And
Can I just say, in your mind, with all this magician malarkey, have you just put it down to like getting fortune cookies? Is that what you're saying? Is that all I did?
Somewhat.
He just calls up Mystic Meg after reading the back of the newspaper.
I just look at a horoscope.
Those are 800 numbers. My God.
You look through and you get to like fucking like Sagittarius, and it'd be like, a monster is going to hit you, but it will miss, and like that's oddly specific.
Yeah.
You will grapple the wolf. What is that, a metaphor or?
In order to bring their friend Elle back, they freed a mysterious prisoner that was being held under the island. And that prisoner turned out to be a fallen angel who did bring Elle back, hooray, hooray, but also turned out to be Mav's estranged father that he didn't know that he had, which was discovered only after Mav realized he kind of had a crush on him. And
which says a lot for the narcissism levels in your boy. Oh, I see something in you that I like.
It's me. So not only was he Mav's dad and a fallen angel, but also had ambitions of godhood in a real TikTok way, though, in a like, I need followers.
What the fuck does that arrive?
Yeah. It wasn't really on purpose, but he had a real like and subscribe sort of way of saying, I need people to worship me. And the guys knew that they had to bring him down, which ultimately they did. And survived the fight, did bring him down, and returned home after their year, only after being stopped on the seas by an imperial fleet, trying to track down a missing wife.
My wife.
My wife went missing. The emperor. My wife.
Can we move on from this bit?
Considering how many wives you've had, it pains me that you don't do that joke.
What, my
You've
wife?
had so many fictional wives.
I-
You just need to.
Oh, Borat!
Oh.
You know the film Borat.
I've had 2 wives, okay?
So, chaps, with that rather stilted, awkward overview, let's dive
What the fuck,
in.
Lydia?
What?
Why are you being so mean to yourself?
Yes,
That
I'm
was
being mean to
so
yourself.
mean.
You know, because this is my way. So, what do we think? Let's dive into what happens after the kind of epilogue-ness of it all. You get back to Arroway Haven. You get back to the mainland. You step off the Gentle Maria along, along with all the other people in the Imperial fleet, and what do you think sort of happens from there? I mean, I guess, Nikki, why don't you say first about Elle the elf?
Isn't
That's such a fucking reductive way.
Elle the elf,
Elle the elf.
Cece the wife, and Mav the magician? It's all
Fucking
we
tarot
are.
cards. Can I just say we're absolutely now making the tarot cards.
That's a big we, considering Michelle's got to do literally all of the work.
I do. Elle's parents, Elle's mothers. Sorry, Karen. I was just gonna say they're from Telespia, right?
Yeah, so Elle's mothers are nearby. So Elle's slightly longer intention, just before I bring back to his immediate, is to. So Elle has learned from the island that he should let people affect his life as much as he has affected theirs. Like he has kind of gone through people's life, which I know Rooney wrote one of the questions about like motivations for characters and stuff like that, and I think that is a big for him, so I'll bring that up then. But like he's gone through life having a big impact on a surprising amount of people, given his pretty cavalier attitude to life, and he's very conscious of how little time, comparatively, how little time Mav has, and then CC, barring any magic means or stuff we don't know about. So his intention is to go with Mav and CC with all this wife stuff. He's probably thinking, go with Mav. I'm not going to like it, but what's 50 to 60 years? Like, as in living in the city, like living deep into the city. Like, he's probably going to live on the outskirts and just see Mav often. But before then, he's going to try and convince the guys to come with. But I don't know what CC's plans will be, or even if Mav. But he's going to go and see his mothers. Because it's been, 300 and something years?
A lot. Well, it might not have been that long, just because although it's completely up to you, I felt like you'd sort of fled from there just as the war was happening, which would make it more like 100 or 80. But you might in your head have done it beforehand. It's
Did you just say 100 or 80 or 180?
100 or 80, but then in my mind, I'm kind of forgetting how long the war lasted for. So you would have probably disappeared at the beginning of the war, which would have been a bit more, yeah.
Yeah, because he left right at the beginning of the war
Mm.
when it was like coerced volunteering.
Yeah.
Pre like an aggressive campaign, when it was like, hey, like we're gonna get all the talented and like the capable fighters and archers and tacticians and stuff to like come and fight. Before it got to literally any like capable person.
We actually, this stuff for Elle never really came up. So why don't you talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, so there was a pretty fucking horrendous war in Lydian's world, and I think it's kind of cancelable on Lydia's part to invent war. There was a pretty nasty war, and it went very, I would say, from my perspective anyway, very quickly went from, hey, come and join the war effort, to, hey, everyone should really join the war effort, to at least one person from every household, to everyone who has something to offer, or everyone who can like physically form a line needs to be in the war. And Elle doesn't really fuck with that. And his mothers are Fletchers. Like, they make arrows, and they spend like a year to make 2. Or, like, it's insane. Like, they're like elven perfection arrows. Like, they are like beyond anything you've ever seen. Like they are insane, and they're very expensive, and they become like heirlooms within like hunting families and things like that. So they basically were like, and as a result, Elle is pretty adept at this like archery and hunting stuff, just through kind of like growing up in that family. His mother's like loved him so very much, and like he was very privileged in that sense of like he came from like not a especially wealthy home. Like if they were churning out arrows, that it could be like it wasn't so much as a business for them as it is like the pursuit of perfection. Like very elven in that kind of like this, they found a passion, and this kind of like their love is like deeply rooted in this like joint, this like shared passion. So like it takes them both to make the arrows. Like they've honed their skills to such like a fine detail that it literally takes them both. But yeah, then when this started happening, someone approached them to be like, hey, we need you to make arrows for the war effort. And they were like, that's really sort of not what we do. Like, we don't churn out arrows. And then when this person left, they were like, and I think we sort of vaguely said that they were kind of like hinted at like, well, you guys should then join the war effort. And they were like, no, we're like nearly 1,000 years old. Like, we're old. Like, it's blah, blah, blah. And I think maybe the 3 of them had that conversation of they're going to come and get Elle in the
Force fight. Yeah.
There is no way that if Elle stays at home, he doesn't get pulled into the war.
Yeah.
There's just no way. And they basically, I think for them, they didn't want to see their son, who was this like free spirit who like loved being in like the woods and like by the rivers and by the beaches, and like he just loved like being around. Like he lived such a gentle life. Like even factoring in the hunting, like it was all done with like bigger consideration. And like he fished a lot and like built fishing rods because like it's something he enjoyed, and like became like meditative. And they just he didn't want to be turned into a soldier. And they, I think in their like 1,000 years of life, they've seen people go to war and like wars or fights and come back, and like that person
and be trampled by the experience of it. Yeah.
And let's be honest, if Elle went, Elle either doesn't live or comes back so fundamentally changed, because he either gets on board with the idea of using his talents for killing people, or he dies. And like there's no version of that story that their son comes back. So they were like, hey, you need to go. Like, you can't stay here because they will come and find you. So he went. And he has spent those hundreds of years avoiding conscription. And even after the war ended, he was like, he's an elf of the right age. Like, other elves who have lost so much, he assumes would like look down on him for all of that stuff. And so he kept moving out of what eventually became a habit, and he just convinced himself that this was just his lifestyle, and this is the life he led, and like all of those things. But like fundamentally, he's running from.
He's still running from the war, right?
Yeah, no, he's running from the responsibility, and he's running from the admission that he ran. Almost like he's running from the idea that he's running, because as long as he keeps moving, he doesn't have to stop and realize what he's doing. And then that's when he like found the halfling village, and they had like no like capable people, like all of their like fishers like fisher people had gone to war because they were able-bodied and like strong and all these various things. And so he was like, oh, I'll teach you how to fish, like it's fine. And then before he knew it, 60 years went by, and someone that he saw born died of old age, and he's like, oh shit, like fuck. So he was like, cool, I just can't stop, like that's the closest to me stopping. And it's such a mindfuck being like, I've been here a month, and like you saw a child born and they died of, like, then you saw them on their deathbed, and it's like yeah, it's
I think this campaign was definitely one where we haven't really addressed it very much in games, but that disparity between the races, that you know, I mean, not that this is really the stream to get into it, but that there is no way of really, I mean, the each race has their ups and their downs, but the thing of elves being essentially as close to immortal as a mortal being can be sets them apart from the rest.
It's
and what they do
fucked.
with their time. And you know, in the books they talk a little bit about how elves have that attitude that comes from living such a long time of engaging less with the world a little bit. And though El wasn't really like that, he had not engaged in something that was absolutely fundamental to the soil that he stood on. And you know, the island was particularly cruel to him. You know, not necessarily, I mean, I know he was given that information by the founder of the island, but it, you know, the island was definitely there to teach him a lesson about engaging in the world and being affected by the world, and just time is important. Not you have a lot of it, but it doesn't lessen the importance of every second of your life.
Yeah. And why do you think Av gifted him the crab he found? Why do you think El found so much familiarity with the crab? You know, on the beach and with that kind of like guarded from the world. But yeah, I think El would want
As
to.
an egg sack.
Yes. Yes. That is so yeah, like maybe we'll get more into that. Some of the thought process behind, like the meta thought process behind. But yeah, like this is the first time we've ever kind of really like played with someone like that. And weirdly, we all sort of went, I want to do an older character, which is maybe indicative of how From the Ashes felt, I think, but maybe that's a conversation for a little bit later. But yeah, I think El would want to take Mav and Cece to see his mums.
Aww.
And then basically
Alessandra just outside the door going, I don't have that friendship with you guys, I'm gonna wait out here.
And then spend a little bit of time there. I think also to give Mav a middle ground between the island and whatever's coming for him at home, because I imagine Mav is incredibly tense stepping off that boat to like the consequences are going to hit me in the face immediately, but actually he goes, right, breathe. There's a space in the world where, because I don't know if his parents are even aware of who he is. Like that's that weird little like treetop village anonymity that he may have.
They've got a book club subscription.
Yeah.
And it's mostly Mav's books.
Oh God.
Yes.
It was a porn book club. But yeah, then
Cece does.
Elle is basically like, this sounds really like callous, but for lots and lots of important reasons, he's going to go with Mav and just like be in Mav's life for the rest of Mav's life, so that Mav can have as much of an impact as Mav can on Elle's life. It's to let Mav impact him as much as he can. That sounds. But
I'm just imagining a Mav like just finding someone on the street going, please, he won't go away.
And then
just the vast majority of the rest of my life is me just trying to hide.
Then
No, I'm joking.
like to spend a lot of time with like Cece and stuff, because he imagined in his mind they were going to spend time together, like a lot, and also he knows that when they die, no one on Earth is going to understand the experience he went through. apart from these two people. So he doesn't want Mav to be in that alone, and he doesn't want Cece to be in that alone, because he knows that he will one day be in that experience, mostly alone.
Oh God. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And so, Cece,
Yes.
Shell, I mean, first of all, do you go to see the mums?
For sure. I think, Cece
Your wife
said it.
absolutely cannot wear her uniform.
No.
She absolutely cannot wear her like, general's uniform to the
Yeah.
I just want to say I'm a huge fan. I'm a massive fan of your work.
She's an arcane archer, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. Cece would definitely go with Elle and Mav, assuming Mav comes to see Elle's parents. I don't think she is necessarily in a rush to go back home.
To your grieving mother.
Oh Jesus. Yeah, we'll just make a quick stop. I just need to let my mother know I'm not dead.
Can I just say that Alessandra going, this is all your fault, was such a fucking dick move.
Yeah, here's the thing. I feel like I need to reiterate. The thing Cece said is true. She does love Alessandra, but she's also, the thing that the islands taught her is that her life is just as important. You know, Cece was raised to be the best wife. That's what she was raised to be. That's what she was raised to do. And she knew and she loved the idea of it. Then she ended up falling in love with someone.
She was like free roam though. She wasn't like battery raised, right?
Yeah, it was more like so Cece was raised by her mother and father, who her mother was like the kind of wife to her father that is, I'm here to be as supportive as possible, kind of old school
political partnerships type thing.
Yeah, or even this is going to be a call back for things if weird one if people don't know it, but Richard and Emily Gilmore in the Gilmore Girls, very I will know all of your associates' names and their husbands and wives' names. I will throw the best parties. Whatever you need, I am here. I will help run everything. We are a team. Don't get me wrong. So I think the island taught Cece that she can be so much more than that, and she doesn't have to be a partner to someone else, but she can be her own being. So her and Alessandra is, I think, it's one of those things that I'm not going to say yeah, they lived happily ever after, or yeah, they got divorced 3 years later. It's a real I don't know how it's going to be for them.
A few years of therapy, you know?
Therapy is definitely on the cards, and Cece's not letting Alessandra get away with, that speech she gave on the boat, for sure. So I think...
Well, I mean, the PowerPoint presentation wasn't enough. I don't know what more you want.
All right, you want a PowerPoint presentation? Here's how I died. So she'd definitely go to see Elle's mums. She'd go let her family, and probably have to do some sort of weird tour of yes, I'm alive.
The fucking CC return tour.
Yeah.
Arrange to get that statue not taken down, because it's a beautiful statue. I don't want it taken down, but just maybe moved.
Yeah.
To the bedroom.
Into the courtyard at least.
The whole thing is just Cece going, you thought I was gone? Wrong. Cece right here, you fucking Brussels sprouts. That for 6 months.
Yeah.
It's a surprise bitch, man.
And then I think she'd like to spend some time with Mav in the city, and if I assume Elle is there too.
And Jax.
And Jax, obviously, she misses Jax a lot and has probably asked if she can borrow Jax for like help in her own garden and stuff. I know it'd be enough.
Can I add something?
Yes.
She is very patient. She when you get back, she sort of stays very close. She is extremely dedicated now that she has a full grasp of the picture of everything. Alessandra stays very close by your side, and then once the visit with the mums is done and it looks like there is now everyone is now taking a trip to the capital, she gently puts it to you that you have a meeting with the emperor, and because you he wants to know about what happened, because there was a funeral and there have been like trusts put up in your name, and then he lent a portion of his imperial force to rescue you. So he just needs to meet this person that all this sort of chaos has come out of, and in that time where you are in the palace, and it isn't like, what on earth did you think was going on? It's much more jovial and celebratory than that. And of course, it's very mixed in with, oh, look, and Maverick Spells is also back. This is what a turnout for the books. So there's but there are discussions certainly with Alessandra about posing, definitely, if you want to travel with her more. While she's doing her work, she's not like, I think you need a job, darling, but she is kind of going, you know, you have that skill set that you just talked about being you know, the thing that Cece was fantastic at, and I knew that she'd be fantastic at it, because this is something that Michelle brings to characters all the time, is that she is all heart, so much heart. And especially when Michelle plays charismatic characters, is she just is very good at RPing working people, like making people feel good, putting people at ease, and that is, Alessandra is all right at it, but she does through actions what things that make people feel better, whereas them two together walking into a room where difficult discussions are happening is quite a dynamic duo, because you have this person who makes everyone feel good. Everyone that comes in contact with Cece feels good. And then the double whammy of, and do you want to hear what I've got to say? So she would say you'd be a massive asset if that was something that you wanted to do. And so you have this then opportunity to travel the world and make a real impact on the world.
I think Cece would love that. I think that's not necessarily, not that exactly is what she's always wanted, but the thing, you know, the thing that led to her running away a lot was she became a part of the furniture that was left at home, which you know, she would have been not happy to do that, but you know, she fell in love with Alessandra. She was happy to settle for someone she wasn't necessarily in love with, but had a good partnership with, and she kind of was ending up with neither. So yeah, that's what Cece does. She definitely does that. She definitely gets like so much embarrassment out of all of this drama, and just makes like a mental note to always just make sure Alessandra knows if she's dead or alive. Like if she carries something on her that's like, if I die, just let her know I'm dead. Just let this person know I'm dead. You know, like,
yeah,
it's gonna be so much drama.
Yeah. Incredible. Mav, Tom. So Mav gets off the boat, and what's next for him?
Sorry, I think my internet, ironically, might be quite shit. Ironic because of things that the chat doesn't know, and so in that case, not ironic.
It fully looks like you don't know what ironic means now.
Yeah. Like that fucking Anyway, hi, I'm Tom. Yeah, no, I think Mav absolutely sort of obviously comes to meet Elle's mums, and I think everything that he's sort of learned on the island, 100%. Alanis Morissette, thank you so much. That's who I meant, Josh. That's who I was talking about. I just couldn't remember her name. Fuck.
Ironically,
Tom.
by containing no examples of the word ironic, it becomes an incredible example of the word ironic.
Yeah.
Tom cared not for that.
Sorry,
Tom.
I didn't actually hear it. I'm in my own little.
You
dungeon.
went to. I don't know if you're getting any audio, Tom, but you go and see Elle's mums, and then what happens when you then travel to the capital?
Yes, sorry, I am back now. Yeah, no, I was gonna say. I think it's nice going to meet people who don't necessarily give a shit, because I think that's one of the things that that I made Mav all about, and I'll go into that in a second. But I think when Mav comes back to the capital, he does come back changed. I don't think there's any way of getting around that. I do think he after an amount of time, I don't know how long, but I do think he would get in contact with Silly, get in contact with Euphoria, obviously, but Zilly sort of in particular. I think whilst it could be said that there was an insane level of narcissism in his reaction to Zilly's kind of Zilly coming out and saying, "Look, I wrote all of these books." His reaction was, "Oh my god, I stole your work.
Yeah.
I should be the one who's ashamed. I'm the one in the wrong. Me. You know,
I'm a terrible villain. You're not the mastermind.
yeah.
I am."
And whilst there is like an inherent narcissism in that, much like with everything that Mav has done up until this point, there is a lot of blame still on his shoulders. He didn't see her. He didn't he respected her greatly, but he didn't see her for what she wanted to be, for how she wanted to be seen, and kind of almost refused to, if that makes sense, which I think was part of the reason why it all went as Pete Tong as it did. But I don't think, and I think he does. I was going to come in and sort of make some wonderfully Tom-esque joke about him taking all the drugs and dying in a coke-fueled sort of haze like 2 days later. That was never going to happen. I think whilst he does sort of like come back to the socialite society for a little while, I think that's one of the inherent changes in him from the island, is that it doesn't fit him anymore. Like that kind of wanton decadence doesn't fit who he is as a person anymore, as a tiefling anymore. And whilst he does definitely stay in the city, he takes a much more kind of relaxed view of things. I think he probably I don't know whether he does sort of move out to the sticks or anything to sort of like with Elle, but I think he absolutely sort of spends a lot more time with him, and a lot more time kind of on the people that matter to him, as opposed to and again, I'll go into this when we go into sort of backstory kind of elements and stuff, but one of his sort of main raison d'etres was status, and was kind of portraying himself as a symbol of status and as a symbol of what he wants to be portrayed as, if that makes any sense whatsoever. And that is much less important now.
I think you would have had the same treatment, that not quite so much because there wasn't an Imperial fleet sent for you, but you would I think So for people who maybe didn't quite get the connection, which would be understandable because Tom is subtle, but the person that Mav often conjured to keep him company was a character called Euphoria, who's popped up a few times. She's like in the lore, but she is the head courtesan to the Emperor and an Asimar of Lady Thorn, and she was Mav's best friend, pretty much. Tom, did you just take a swig of fucking pickle juice?
No.
There, in the old days, she would signal to Mav that she wanted to have lunch or a drink, or she would signal for them to meet by sending a black rose to him. So that was the imagery that was important. There was not just what a black rose symbolized to Mav's psyche, but that it was the connection to the person that meant most to Mav. And she would, when you were back, she would want to see you. Absolutely. She would be so happy to see you, and need to sort of know what would happen, because she's done a lot on your behalf since you were there. And I think that would involve being part of the court. But I sort of like that for Mav, that that he's more grounded, that the island made him a bit more grounded.
And I think that's the important thing for him, Reed, for me, in portraying a narrative. Like it's he is so much more grounded because actually he knows what he wants in life now. You know, I think so. Yeah.
Does he continue to write?
I'm not sure, really. I think he'd be far less pressed to put out the sheer amount of writing that he used to, well, he didn't used to, that he was sort of portrayed to write, if that makes sense. I don't think he would care. That's yet another. So basically, when creating Mav, as I've said on these kind of like talkbacks before, one of the main things that I like to do when I'm making a character is kind of go for something that I haven't done before. Like think of a specific sort of like impetus that will be interesting for me to kind of work with, that I haven't actually sort of like really delved into before. So Mav, it was about building a character who was so kind of focused on status and so focused on the fear of not being seen and not being kind of heard, that actually like it kind of almost the fear of not being a wallflower means that your roots don't get to grow, if that makes sense. So yeah, for Mav, it was very much this feeling of kind of well, I have to still, it's social media, it's content creation, isn't it? It's like I have to keep making things because otherwise people won't know who I am. People won't sort of see me for what I want to be seen as, and I won't be
relevant. And yeah.
Whereas that toxic sort of thing that was at the heart of him, that meant that he was never really happy and he was never really satisfied because he could never get like those deep and meaningful friendships or relationships. That part of him is not as prominent anymore. Not as prominent. Still going to be there. It's Mav, but yeah. So yeah, I think there was a question at the start of that, but
it was whether you think he continues to write. And I think what I'm divining from your answer is that Mav is not a different person, so he'll always be a writer, but that he doesn't have a toxic reason to keep pumping works out.
Yeah, there'll be Patrick Rothfuss moments in his in his sort of life now, where he writes a book and then doesn't write a book for 5 or 6 years. And
Take that, Patrick.
would Mav write? Because we never got into it, but Mav obviously started writing a book and let Cece read the first draft, and we didn't actually get to know what it was about. But so it could answer this question. But would Mav write a book that was like the story of our time on the island?
Listen, he would absolutely write a memoir.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think he would speak to both of you at great length about it beforehand. Might not.
You have to do it pretty quickly because you're going to forget.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that's the other thing. We're going to forget about.
That's such a good point. In that case, like as soon as Mav starts to realize that that things are getting fuzzy, he's immediately I redact everything that I've just said.
You started writing it on the island, didn't you?
Well, that one, or what was that book?
So that book was a kind of it was a story about, I think it was essentially a very artsy fucking book. Like I explained to Lydia, like his very first book, when he was still studying at Divisia Census, he wrote a book. I can't remember the name that I gave it now, but he wrote a book that was very kind of like seminal piece. Lots of spunk in it. No, like very like Catcher in the Rye kind of.
It had romance in it, but it wasn't actually a romance novel. It was more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I swear you titled something "The Life and Times of Maverick Spells."
That was going to be a confessional apology, essentially.
Right.
That would have that he sort of saw as like basically his last kind of the last thing that he could do for Silly is say, listen, I fucked it. Don't shit on her.
Right.
She did this thing, yes, but there were so many reasons, and this is why. It was very damning, and it got burnt very, very quickly afterwards. Once he realized that he was going to survive. But yeah, so the book that he let you read was much less about kind of smut. I think there would be a lot of kind of like romance and kind of like but
wasn't it more to do with Mav proving to himself that he could still write?
It was yeah, exactly. And it was I think, I don't want to put anything like fully kind of set in stone type thing, but it was very much like about love of like a more platonic kind of friendship kind of. So it was heavily inspired by the Lighthouse, by Eisodos, but not necessarily like the story of. However, he absolutely does write the story as well.
Cute. I love that.
Cool, I love it. I mean, yeah, there is for sure you guys will start forgetting, and my feelings were very much that I think at first Alessandra and a few people that you talk to get quite obsessed with the story that you're telling, and that there is this island that people don't know about. I mean, and I think there'll be bursts of it because, of course, Cece has written herself a letter that she reads to herself every day, reminding herself of the island. But you have a job to keep reminding people that it exists. But that was actually one of the things that I wanted to sort of mention as well. I think Mav would absolutely sort of like, as much as the fucking amount of times that we all sort of said, I fucking hate this island, whilst we were there, I think it was a very specific very specific kind of hate, in the same way as I fucking hate therapy, and also I fucking hate dying sometimes, to be fair. But like with that in mind, I think Mav absolutely speaks to you two and sort of says like, look, the reason I'm writing this book is being written is so that people actually go, so that people actually sort of like you can go back to being the thing it was meant to be, which is a huge community that shifts every year. I think Alessandra is very grateful to the thing that the island does, and she is happy to talking to Cece to offer up a certain amount of money that means that there can be like a week or a month's crossover so the people on the island aren't just shoved onto the island, and that there can be safety things so people can, a ship can go there with whatever is needed, but that the island isn't messed with too much, so they don't try and stop there being, it's important that the island has a lack of communication. It's part of the island, and it can't really be taken away. You don't want to fight with a semi-sentient island. So but there is just okay but 6 months in, a boat will come with things just to make sure that everybody's okay, and there's just safety nets in place for people. I think thinking a lot about Alessandra in particular, I think she feels a certain amount of envy because the island is like brutal, like for somebody who is used to life being, it's like somebody who goes, oh, I like to go for a run, and somebody's like, yeah, let's do a tough mudder, and you're like, can you just not? Alessandra would be like, oh, you get to go to an island that's a bit like therapy but fucking hard. I love that idea. But then she's like, actually, I've got a wife to look after, and I don't want to run away from my wife. Like, I've got a lot of stuff to actually do. So but what I can do is be grateful for what I have, and my way of showing gratitude is seeing if the Archivea couple want to make that an easier experience for people.
For sure. I also I also think Cece, after a couple of years, would maybe either suggest that she goes and does it for a year because it is a good experience. But Cece would also happily go back and do it again if just to see Joltish.
Oh yeah, for sure. She also, I would say, she keeps bringing up that she would want to find a way that if Joltish wanted off the island, that they could.
Yeah, I think.
And how can we make that a thing? Like, could he live in a city under the water? Could what? Do they want to live in the lake that looks over the capital and be a kind of protector, or what is it that they want? Because she's got the most amount of gratitude to Joltish.
Yeah, Joltish saved your wife.
Yeah.
My wife.
But it's so interesting, Michelle, that you were talking about what Cece learned on the island, because obviously, I mean, I'll kind of go into this a little bit more if anyone's interested, but like I when I was mapping all of this out, and I was like, what is this island going to teach them? It's going to be timey-wimey for Elle. It's going to be, you have to live with yourself, Mav. Cece was the lesson for Joltish.
And Archivea.
Cece's the lesson?
Yeah.
Oh.
The island was giving a lesson.
If anyone wants any more evidence that Michelle is firmly Lydia's favourite.
She went through it. She absolutely went through it. But
you're a gift. You're a literal present to a divine being. No, darling. Darling, you're there. You think
Cece didn't suffer?
Darling, you're the one.
You think Cece didn't suffer, but the island
died.
So did I.
Oh, Cece super suffered. Fair. Yeah.
Well, if you want trinkets, if that's what you want. It may or may not be true that Lydia feels a little bit of guilt about taking a previous character's child, and that is just in limbo, that her child is kidnapped. I maybe feel a little bit guilty. But yeah, so I think so that's good to know how it kind of moves on into the future.
Do you want questions?
Yeah, because some of Rooney's first questions are for you.
Yes.
Okay.
So, first question is, how long has the idea for this campaign and these particular characters been in the works?
It's been in the works for a long time. Let me tell you how long, because we had an idea, like one of our first, when the pandemic first hit, essentially, and when we were first thinking about streaming on Twitch, we talked about the Lighthouse of Eisodos. I pitched the idea to you guys, and you guys were like, "Yes, let's do that. That sounds great." But we were going to be doing it in person because do you remember when at the beginning of lockdown, when people were like, "It'll be fine by the summer. We just got to get through, maybe February, March of 2020.
3 months, that's all.
And then we can be back in the same room." And I was like, okay, so let's get everything ready to be streaming in person by the summer. Because I made terrain. I was just talking to Michelle about it today. I made beach terrain.
Guys, you two did the craft stream. Do you remember what they built on the craft stream? That was the house from the lighthouse.
That was the house, but also I made a beach and I poured resin and I did so much shit thinking this was going to be something that we were going to do in person. So it's been in the works for a really long time, and that the kernel of the idea for me, I don't know if I'm jumping the gun and this is a follow-up question, but there were 2 points of inspiration that made this campaign for me. The first one was watching the first season of I've forgotten the goddamn fucking name. Castle Rock.
Oh,
is an adaptation. Castle Rock, which is an adaptation of a Stephen King novel.
Fraggle Rock.
The basic premise is a jailer of some strange person kills himself, leaving this person locked up in a cage, who is found and is like mute, and it's something Skarsgård, who played the Pennywise.
Alexander?
Yeah, and he has like these huge eyes and he's totally quiet, and people are like, are we supposed to pity him, or is he the devil? And it turns out he's the devil. And but they kind of get him out and they're like, people really feel for him, and he's so mysterious and sinister, and I was like, I want that. Can I take that? In fact, I think I sent a picture of Skarsgård to Michelle when she was drawing the art. I was like, make it this is often what it's like when I give Michelle references. Can you make him ageless but vulnerable? And can you make him sort of emaciated but also kind of sexy? And can you make him you sort of got character about the face but also expressionless? And she's like, I mean, yes.
I'll draw something. You'll get what you get.
So, and the concept that looking a little bit at some of the Theros material that came out, and looking at fallen angels and learning that fallen angels often go to hell, and then the idea that an angel could produce a child and go, it's a fucking tiefling. I've gone wrong. Oopsie. So it was that, along with, I just always really loved Lost so much, and the concept of the very mysterious island that absolutely puts everybody through the rigors, and really doesn't care about your mortality. It cares more about the journey that you have to go on. It doesn't really care if you die in the process. That kind of brutality to it. Those were the two things that came together that I was like, I think there's something that I want to play around with in this. So that's that.
And there's another one that just directly follows up on this, which was, how many episodes were you expecting the Lighthouse campaign to take? What were some aspects that wound up taking longer or shorter than you was expecting, or that the players missed altogether?
I think it ended up being about the length. We kind of thought 12 sessions, and it ended up, then we kind of thought 10, and then it ended up being 11. So I think it's about right, but the pacing was extremely different. And that was just something that I sort of learned along the way, as well as we had a break in the middle. Lydia's life fell to pieces. So it all kind of, life hit real hard. And that is hard to do, to stop a campaign in the middle and come back to it. But there is no two ways about it. The Joltish rescue was meant to happen about session 3 or 4.
Very funny.
It's not funny.
It is now.
It's
It was-
funny.
And because you got your first pearl in like at session 2,
Yeah.
then you had downtime in session 3 and you got a whole load of pearls. And I thought, I know Michelle so well. As soon as she gets one of these things, she's going to be like, this means something. I've got to eat it. I've got to throw it. I've got to magic it. I've got to do something.
I jokingly said, like, oh, put it in my head,
Yeah.
like my Nick stuff. And everyone was
Yeah.
like, ha, you're so funny, idiot. And
Yeah.
I was like, maybe it's nothing then.
No one
Maybe...
called you an idiot.
No. No, I did. I called myself
That's your
an idiot.
interpretation. But I had like I had a roll table, which Michelle only rolled a few of them, but I had a whole like everything that that was said that started off with like, I'm back at the island. I don't, you know, I've just come back from saving you, and I need a real rest. God, it really takes it out of you giving people powers. I've never done it before. To like, this is the last time I'm ever gonna speak to you. Like
Christ.
the whole.
So she got none of the ones that were like really informational, and all of the ones that were very traumatic.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. We've got a question from Sam, which I really like, but it also links up with this one that Rooney sent. And I think we should go around the table.
Yeah.
So, Tom, what
Hi.
influenced your decisions in creating Mav the way Mav was? And then once you say that, we're all going to say our favourite thing or moment about that character. And then we're going to go around the table.
About each
Yeah.
other's PCs.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, we're going to talk about math first.
So Tom's going to talk about how he created Mav, and then we're going to say a nice thing about Mav.
Okay.
And this is like ice-breaking, guys, so I really want you to let loose
No.
and like...
No.
Fuck. Yeah, no, I think I've brushed upon it already a little bit. I always like to wait until I know the what the sort of like call to arms is before I make a character, what the sort of the game's going to be like and all of that kind of stuff. And as I said, you know, what I really wanted was to make someone that was so kind of inherently up their own arse that they come out the other side. Like you know, I wanted to make correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I've ever played most of the D&D that I play is with you guys, and I don't think I've ever played a character that is so kind of anti-family feel, if that makes sense.
That's really true. Mav did feel very like...
And you know, and that was kind of my like obsession with Mav in making him like all the way through. You know, he was from a sort of relatively well-to-do merchant kind of style family. The family had enough to send him to Divisia Census, but he didn't. And you what? Sorry.
You dropped out, didn't you, because of the writing took off?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's like a university, college.
Yes.
like
Wizard
magic.
college. Magic
Yeah.
college.
You know, dropped out partially because he started writing, and partially because of the nature of the university is so kind of like so hell bent on kind of making found families, almost like you're in your first year you're in a cloister, you know. I won't
Then
bore
you're
you with
expected
all
to
of
become an adventurer, and you have an adventuring party, or like
Yeah.
all of that sort of stuff. Yeah.
And Mav doesn't give a shit really about that side of things. He never did. He cared more about sort of showing himself. So yeah, I like that was my sort of like go-to. And then I thought, fuck it, wouldn't it be so funny to like well, two things actually. I really, as I'm sure you all fucking know by now, I really like making characters that are like I'm such a slut for Lydia's lore, and I
Yes.
just go like I want to go so. I
No,
wanna go
don't finish that fucking sentence, Tom. Do not.
so deep and so hard into that lore.
Oh my god, it makes me clench real hard.
I want to sort of like fully immerse myself in that lore, and that's what I do with the characters as well. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna irrevocably change Lydia's world with this character and make him an author, an erotica novelist that is a best-selling author and all of this kind of bullshit. So yeah, that was mine. My kind of impetus for making Mav.
Can I say my favourite thing about Mav?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Tom, every time you make a character, you go, here is my really heartfelt character, and this is their story, and stuff like that. And then we play, and you go, haha, I'm jokes, because I actually don't want to feel this right now. And I feel like it was conscious on your part. If not, it was very well done unconsciously. You forcibly flip that script, and when here is my jokey character, so I have to take some of that narrative strain or weight and like feel and be in, because I know I'm like a bitch for having like quietly sad characters, but I think you normally shy away from some of like the weightier narrative, and I think Mav's story of the three is, I think, the heaviest.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's easy to go, a porn writer. Oh, he does a bit of like identity fraud, when actually it's very Pagliacci SoundCloud.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cute.
Michelle, what's your favourite
That's
moment?
cute. Thank you, mate.
I think he did a great job.
Yeah, I mean, I have to echo what Nikki said. I agree with all of that
Because
stuff.
we're in the same room. Sorry, the SoundCloud fell down.
Oh god, in terms of moments though, I think Mav had so many great moments. The one that's jumping out to me was just there was when Cece was having a breakdown and Mav, like, it was the real thing of Tom and Mav trying to do that thing of, no, I'm not, fuck you, I'm not getting close to anyone, but immediately being like, all right, dear, I'll help.
This is
That
the
was
other
my
thing.
moment as well, was the makeup moment. Yeah.
You saw it with fucking Keris as well. I try my hardest with Keris to make her like just a bastard woman, but I, like immediately
You can't. You just wanna.
Mama
me
bear.
being me is just like I'm Mama Bear. Like
But
that's it. Yeah.
Saying that, I think it fit Mav, and yeah, I think just Mav had just some great moments with everyone. Like even just like the little moments of like imagining Mav and Elle having a quiet time together. Just lots of great bits.
Cute shit. Thank you. Cute.
I did have two, but one of them has just been taken. So, but my other one is.
So you have to think of a second one again.
My second one is that, which is a little bit revealed. I don't know if Tom really knows that I did this, but when we did a session 0, we did like when we thought we were going to do it originally back in the early Pando times. Mav was a little different, and when stuff started happening to Mav, Tom like played him that he sort of went quite quiet and locked himself away. And when it came to doing it this time round, I was a bit of a bitch privately.
And I'd argue very publicly, but you know.
I had in my notes 2 very different narratives that could have happened for Mav, and it was so when every time Mav woke up from any of those visions, book visions, divination visions that his dad was giving him, I tended to say, Tom, how is Mav feeling right now? And I had these 2 like branches. If Tom was to say he feels really sad and he's not going to go downstairs, he's going to stay in his room for the day, shit would have gone very badly. Not like I was punishing you, but in the sense that the island would have hit back 3 times harder if you had like shut up shop. But what happened was the opposite, which was that each time you kind of went, well, that hurt, but he's not going to close down about it. He's going to take it on. He's going to talk to people about it. And that was why that rose bloomed, you know, on your thing, was that the island saw somebody who went, ow, why? Like he leaned into the ow of it all.
So what you're saying is that this whole campaign was both the prison experiment and Pavlovian theory all in one, like for Mav. Excellent.
Our has truly changed me, and I don't think for the better. But yeah, so what I truly loved about Mav was that exact thing of like, he never hardened or became apathetic through his own suffering. He always had heart. He always, despite how much he was hurting, he was always a good friend. He was, Matt, you built Mav to be a coward, and yet he is absolutely not, because we all talk about it quite a lot, which is that bravery is being frightened but doing it anyway. And that is Mav at the very heart of him, is that he's terribly frightened, but he'll do it anyway.
Oh, it's cute, isn't it?
I think that's my favorite thing about Mav.
That is a part of the kimono slightly, like
which is something Mav did regularly.
Yeah, actually parting it completely, which again is something Mav did regularly. Like, I think that's actually somewhat come from this being a streamed medium, this being a sort of slightly more kind of spectator sport style game as well, to be honest, is that and it's enriched my like playing of games of TTRPGs fully as well, is that actually like it's not about internalizing, it's about externalizing as much as possible. And I think that's I've just thought that's a really interesting thing that has changed in my game, in my sort of like overall gameplay over the years, which is quite interesting. So don't stream your game, because you should come and watch ours, but
it's a different experience, and if it's something that you're looking for, it can be rewarding in a very different way.
Yeah,
but it has its downsides as well.
Rudy said, I love Mav and Cece racing to get the best room, and then Mav helping her pick a better one when hers was like
that is so
that was a good one.
I forgot about that. That's cute as heck.
It's those little like Mav moments.
Wait, hang on a minute, because we need to do the other characters.
You and I haven't done this.
Yeah, and other characters, come on.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what influenced your decision in making an Eat, Pray, Loving... Oh no, and a Beach Bum Elf Ranger. Sorry. Beach Bum Elf Ranger.
Yeah, so couple of things. One, whenever I make a D&D character, I pick a facet of myself that I don't like, and I scale up to 100 and go, look at it and hate it. Everyone, hate the little man. So this time around, it was like, as a person, I'm a big believer in like pacifism and like abstaining and all of those things. However, so much of me knows that this is a privileged position. Now, Tom and Josh, and I imagine other people in chat as well, and I know Tom because me and Tom and Josh have spoken about this, being a big guy, not just tall, but like broad, and being perceptibly soft, invites a lot of violence to be done at you in specific situations. And more often than not, I can sort of go, no thank you, and pick them up and put them somewhere else. Or Michelle can physically fight them and I get punched in the face.
Is Michelle your Jax?
I'm Jax! Also, that only happened one time.
Yeah. But, yeah, so I am very aware that my choice of pacifism is that it's a choice. So I wanted to kind of like pull that, and then we haven't really dealt with some of the historical lore in it as well, and I want to build a character that is like rooted within it. So like running from the war, I think is is a capable person, a very capable person who was running, and like there are things that I've done in my life that could be and quite rightfully seen as running away, and these are parts of me that I'm like, let's turn them up to, let's fucking swing that dial to 11 and let me make a little hateful man. And then in my head, all of my characters are the size of Woody from Toy Story. So like I can pick them up and be like, look at it, look at the
Will
little
a depressed man make this?
yeah, basically. So there's that element to him. The other element being that Lydia knows I love to do so much, which is every time someone goes, this is the worst class and subclass in the game, and I go, ha! gonna be there. I did it with an Eldritch Knight, and it was insane. Like, I do it I did it with a Kensai monk. And I love to do these like mechanically, and I do them often in Lydia's world because there's freedom to go like, oh, I am mechanically sort of a bit fucked, and Lydia's worlds aren't as like punishing. But so I went, everyone hates the Beastmaster Ranger. I'm going to be a Beastmaster Ranger. And then I was like, right, I'm going to pick coastal because obviously we're going to be on an island. Then it, like the beach bumminess kind of came out of him. So yeah, like I ended up with this like old elf running away from his problems, living a very privileged life of a pacifist, and again, that the kind of like part of me that's like dialed up to 11 is that like weird kind of apathy, that like perceived apathy to the kind of the world around him. Jax came because I wanted like a semi-aquatic ranger, a beast, like a ranger companion, and that's literally like that was it. It was him or an octopus, and I was like, because I didn't want a flying beast companion because that felt like a lot, and like it felt like too much, and I didn't want to do the wolf thing or the giant eagle or any of that kind of the like prototypical shit. So I went, crab, that's funny. The story behind getting Jax is he was an actual crab. Like, he's not a giant crab. He's a crab that was in a crab basket, like trapped. And Elle cut him out and was like, "Hey, you're cute. Like, I'll take you with me." And then Av, the Swift Maiden, was like, "Cool. If you're not gonna be with anyone, if this is the thing that you're gonna stay with, he's gonna get big." And Clifford did him.
Yeah.
He became the big red crab. I love Jax, the big red crab. So I don't remember if you guys remember in our war one shot, I played a pacifist. He was a scout rogue, but Giannis Peacebow was like and I was kind of toying with that like hesitancy. And do you remember at the end we were like, okay, so what do you think happens to the characters? And everyone went across, and I went, I think Giannis dies. That was something. I think you could sort of say that's like an alternate universe. They're not, because they're from within the same world, but like that would be an alternate universe L. Like
that could have been L.
Yeah, he had a horrible.
That's the thing
time.
about Bloody Wars. That is the thing about Bloody Wars, is there's so many bodies just thrown to the wind, knowing that there's no way that they can win. That's in every like battalion there are 100 people that are essentially your doppelganger that feel alternate universe, but actually the sadder truth is they're just fucking people. There's just so many fucking people that die.
I sort of got a chance to play with it a little bit, and I was like, no, I want to actually get in that skin a little bit, and you'd be like, okay, so what does that look like? And it ended up being somebody who, like, I think all three of us were running away from something, and I just think Elle had been running the longest, and we didn't really get into it. Like, we kind of like prophesized all these like big arguments about like with Elle and CC.
Yeah, because it's a shame we didn't really get into it
in the
stream
was
on
so
the island
brutal.
so much. Yeah, but the fascinating and interesting comparison Cece would have seen and not seen in Elle and Alessandra, because all this talk of Elle being like, if I'd gone to war, it would have changed me, I would have been a completely different person. Like, it is brutal. It just like it's like it tramples you, your soul. And Cece is loving and living with someone who has done that, and a lot of Cece's issues she was having with Alessandra came down to, you are an elf who lives a long time, that your concept of time is so wild, and to meet someone who
has that same concept of time, it was almost like that's why you said, I don't want to be your halfling village. Elle talking about his halfling village, which is one of my two favourite moments of Elle, if you don't mind me saying. I'm sort of done. Basically, every time I make a character, I pick a part of myself I don't like, and I crank it up. Yeah, what is life but me bullying me?
Right, we need to get a Nikki be nice to Nikki thing in the chat. So Elle talking about that halfling village is one of my favourite moments because it really helped me understand Cece so much more, because the way Elle would talk about that village of like, God, I was there in like 60 years and like then I just had to get out of there, you know. And it just becoming this almost anecdote that he talks about. Cece had visions of like, is that what I am to this woman that is my whole world? Am I an anecdote for her in like a couple of 100 years?
It sounds mean, but it's sort of like a dog.
Yeah.
Like you are a dog's whole life. They know nothing but you.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh yeah, my childhood dog, and it's like, fuck. Can you imagine?
I've had 4 dogs since then. Yeah.
So that was one moment, but my second favourite Elle moment
was when he died.
Yeah, thank God when he was gone.
Shit, you
loved
got
it.
my one.
No, it has to be when he cast Speak with Animals on Jax.
Oh.
It was just so cute, and I think any interaction Elle had with Jax are like some of my favourite moments.
It was kind of like Pandora's box, because the expression on Nikki's face was like, can I put the lid back on this and not have experienced it somehow?
Yeah.
I so badly wanted to message you when that happened. I really, like, I think I started writing Lydia, how dare you? And like, just...
See, it's so fucking funny because I remember, I remember that happening, and obviously Rooney brought it back up in the Discord. By the way, guys, we have a Discord for anyone who isn't in it. But like, it was so funny that happened. Your reaction was, and it never happened again. You never spoke to her again.
To be fair to Nikki, in a downtime, he did talk about, I think I cast it quite a lot, and I talked to him, and I say, he only says, do you remember? And he's like, I'm happy to listen to his side of our memories together.
But that's also, I kind of, like, I get it, because, like, imagine, like, what a dog would tell you about. Like, they would tell you about
I'm
going
to keep saying
days.
it, intelligence 1, that's not the modifier, that's the score.
Yeah. Oh.
I think, like, much like Michelle, I have 2. The first being, oh shit. The first being how, you somehow made us go from making, sort of, through sheer force of will, you made us go from making jokes constantly about eating the crab to us all loving the crab more than anyone else on the island, which is just plain rude. The second is kind of slightly more nebulous, but comes from a specific moment, I suppose.
I learned to stop worrying and start loving the crab.
Which was like the moments those moments of and I think Michelle has sort of touched on it slightly as well, but the moments where you touched us, like where you affected like the other character, like, so for Mav it's those moments of just sitting in companionable silence on the veranda or wherever it was, and just sitting and smoking and doing that old man thing, and it's like to kind of go a little bit into my brain. No one wants to be there, but still, it's kind of what I saw as the island was trying to tell you, and what kind of, I think, we as characters were trying to tell you almost as well, is that you affected our lives so deeply in those moments that you have with us. And it's like, the way I saw it was, yes, we are the pets in that situation, but that doesn't make those moments any less meaningful. Almost, like, I think in fact it almost makes them more meaningful that you continue to have them. Do you know what I mean? Like, and despite, like, in our talks kind of backstage about Elle and about how he doesn't want to affect people's lives really, like, even though that's happening in your brain, like, you're still doing that, if that makes sense, as a character. So yeah,
you're talking about Elle,
that's
right?
what I like about it.
Elle.
Elle, yeah, it's Elle that doesn't want to affect people's lives, right?
Yeah.
Lydia, what's your favourite
Yeah, 100% L.
I think the kind of
Killing it.
the heart of it was that I genuinely wasn't sure if Elle was going to change. I saw the first few months for Elle on the island, and then when I was like plotting how it would happen, how Elle's plot line, I was thinking, I actually think that Nikki's made the decision that Elle is. I mean, I knew that these guys didn't know yet that the island was teaching them lessons, because, oh my God, the way that they talked about it, especially when we had the break, and we would occasionally like meet up, and the hounding that happened where they're like, just fucking tell us what's going on in their theories. And I was like, oh, fuck, they really don't know, actually, even slightly. And there was such a great moment where Nikki went, I just know it's not like a time loop thing, because Lydia would never do time shit like that. And I was like, but
Was that on stream or was that off stream?
It was off stream. It was round your house having lunch.
I said that with all of the confidence in the world, being like, okay, all of these ideas, there's only one that it can't be, and that's what it was.
But it was first and foremost, it was the halfling song, but second of all, it was the way.
Fuck! I forgot about them.
It was an incredible halfling song, which is in my OneNote for a time when it will pop up at some point. But it was the way that Elle came back so changed after death, and I thought, I wonder, actually, it would be just as interesting. I don't mind people pushing back against the content, against the stories that I give them. If anything, in some ways, I kind of like it. But I thought, if he comes back without having taken it to heart, oh boy, this is going to be fun. But he wasn't. And it was really nice what Elle was like when he came back. There was a humbling that happened. Not that Elle wasn't a humble character before, but that hard shell had softened, and it was really nice to see. I really enjoyed that a lot. Chichelia.
Making Cece. So my original
Turn right.
idea was before, I think mine was before anyone else's, or maybe you had Elle. No, I don't think you even had Elle.
Because what happened was, you had your idea, then Tom had his character, and you went, oh, I probably shouldn't do that. And then I had my character, and you went, okay, so I definitely can't do that.
Yeah, so when Lydia presented it to us, she was like, okay, it's like an island.
You went first, which was rare.
Yeah, I went, the boys bullied me, it was like, make your character first kind of thing. And this is going to sound really sassy, but the boys were like, go first, we'll make our character around you kind of thing. And Lydia was describing the island and was like talking about lots of ideas of like, maybe this is a young person, like first time adventure, this is going to be an easy gig, or like, the gap year kind of person. And so that's what we were all talking about, was like these young people. And I very often play, when I play D&D characters, younger characters. I love some romance, so I tend to like leave that stuff open and something to develop as the game progresses. And then I just had the idea of, what if I played someone older, like I was playing with the idea of playing a wife who had kids who'd grown up and gone off and done their own adventure. Originally she had like a husband who was just kind of a bit shit. Like nothing terrible, but just like, okay, now the kids have gone, I'm
your new child that you have to look after all the time.
Yeah, like I don't want that, so I'm gonna run away. And then Mav came into existence in all of his glory, and like
I feel like Mav would have been gross if he was a young man.
Yes, like Graz needed Mav.
Graz?
Graz. Mav needed to be
Spoilers for the next
older.
campaign.
Sorry. And then Elle also needed to be older, but like he didn't necessarily feel older.
Played
he
with
was
age
just-
in a different way, but if we
Yeah.
were all old, it would have made that part of the Cece story less.
So then Cece became more of like a trophy wife type situation, and then.
But it was also inspired by like Austin. We talked about.
Yes.
We talk about Austin a lot. We'd watched Bridgerton, and we were like, we got to make her the diamond of the season. And
Yeah, because it was essentially the book that like Mav wrote was very like Pride and Prejudice kind of Elizabeth meeting falling in love
Horse
with
vision in future.
Darcy. But we watched Bridgerton and we were like, oh, but Bridgerton is actually what it's much closer to. Like these two people who think they're fooling everyone and then whoops accidentally fall in love.
And every time they come, it looks like it hurts.
God. Anyway, but then that all came about because I knew I wanted to play a warlock and I was going to go with a hexblade, and Lydia was like, that's all going to happen like on the island. So I had to make a character that was essentially a commoner but fully formed and had like this whole life. So I got to have fun thinking about this person who could be anyone.
An original idea for the warlock patron that was going to be very Lady of the Lake, and I had this image in my head. I shouldn't say it out loud because I'll use it another time, but I'll use some. I've got a million ideas, but I was going to have this moment where boxes were going to wash up on the island full of like people that had died in the war, like the ghosts of people who died in the war, and then this hand was going to come out of the sea, out of the ocean with your weapon, and it was going to be connected to your wife, like through. And then I just thought, I don't want your wife anything to do with it.
Yeah, leave her out of it.
This ain't her story. She's already had her story.
Yeah, I thought that's really like unfair. I do love the concept of the Lady of the Lake being a warlock patron though, because that's just rad. But
yeah, for sure.
Because she definitely is.
Yeah, for sure. But
Did we ever do Arthurian legend in our old podcast?
No.
we should have
That's
mentioned it.
insane.
That's such a missed opportunity. But yeah, I really enjoyed the chats that we had about Trichelia.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and developing Alessandra I was so annoyed because Lydia, and I do it kind of to myself as well, but like at first it was just like, okay, husband, wife, partner, whatever, they're just an asshole, right? And then we're like,
But also, could they all? I know.
What
What
if?
if though?
What if
There's a redemption arc for them.
So yeah, that's Trichelia.
Cool.
Comments?
No, Tom, go ahead. What's your favorite moment of Trichelia's?
Oh shit.
Right,
Okay.
for clarity, I have some, but I wanted to go last. It's not. No one has any.
Yeah, the silence. I was like, oh, okay,
Christ.
cool. That's fine. I had fun anyway.
I wanted to go last.
No, are
'cause
you
my
sure?
thing
Are you
feeds
sure
onto
you
another
don't want to
question.
go first?
Okay, Tom, you go first.
Yeah, I mean, on a not so serious note, the interaction on the first day of being on the island with the albatross and the kind of the feeling, the rich kid goes camping feel of like that whole section where you try to go to the island, try to sort of tie up the boat and try to do this and failed at every single hurdle and carried on trying as well was just
Yeah.
it was just so like and from a player perspective as well, the thing of going, okay, but Lydia, at some point you have to kind of actually just give me something, please. Like, that was going on in your face.
I was like, help me, somebody help me.
but then yeah, like from a sort of character perspective, in relation to like Mav, I just loved the kind of that I don't want to call it a sisterhood, but like that kind of that bond that they shared, of shared knowledge and shared kind of experience coming into, because again in the sort of like first sort of session 0 that we had there was a slight kind of, when we were still trying to figure out the characters and all of this kind of stuff, there was this
When Jax
slight
was
weird.
more of a character than Al.
Yeah, there was this weird sexual tension that didn't really sit well with me, and didn't sit well. It didn't sit well with anybody at the table, really.
Yeah.
But it was there, and it was sticky, you know. You're too sticky. But there was just this wonderful platonicism that was just so lovely, and much like almost every character that you make, like there was such kind of care and such like empathy in the moments that needed empathy, if that makes sense. Like she had so much empathy, and it was wonderful. It was gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I think I've already like mentioned about the warmth that Cece had that was great, but additionally I'll add her interaction with Elska. The first interaction where Elska just put her fingers in her mouth was like delightful. But also, and I hope you don't mind me talking around this a little bit, but Cece had a moment that made Michelle's blood run cold, and that shit could be painful, but I think it like that shit is really why D&D is really magical, is when something happens and it was absolutely earth shattering, and it was like falling into a pit of spikes.
Yeah.
And Michelle, in the way that Michelle is really good at, when this fucking hurts, and next week she was like, come on.
Yeah.
Which is fucking beautiful. So that was what I liked about Cece.
Thanks.
I have 3.
Oh, damn.
Because, you know, one of which Stream didn't get, but I really enjoyed theorising about the future argument, or I don't think argument's the right word, because I don't think Elle would argue, which I think would maybe fuck Cece off even more in that situation, about like the stuff we've spoken about in terms of like, the lifespan and kind of like drifting through people's lives. I really enjoyed that. Also, I think it was partly as a result of the last campaign. We were playing characters who were deeply within their own trauma, and as a result, were sort of infantilized by the world. And like, this is not chat infantilized them or any of that stuff. Like,
They
part
all
of it was
felt
us,
very
like
young, yeah.
because you know, like they hadn't lived like like in that way that Brian Blessed would say. He's like a very like. If Brian Blessed says you haven't lived, you wouldn't mean like you are not alive. You would go, oh, you mean like lived? Like,
Yeah.
You haven't lived.
yeah, exactly. You'd go and do the thing he's telling you to do. So I really enjoyed, because Elle was never going to be the one to do it. Mav touched on that stuff a lot, but I think it's really hard to do a sexual character, like a sexual person, like on stream without it coming across as like just a lot.
Growth.
Yeah, and I think you nailed that with Cece. I think you did a really, really good job of it. And I think some of that comes from you understanding Karen. Like, this is gonna sound really weird. Michelle's a big Barbie fan, and like, but no,
Love
like,
Barbie.
but like,
Where's this going?
understanding Barbie and like actually like instead of going, oh, Barbie's that like disproportionate woman doll. But Michelle's like, oh no, she's like a fucking rock star. It's like she like loves her friend, like like the person behind the plastic.
Yeah, like I love Barbie. She has like 50 million jobs, and I watched the 80s movie. She solved world peace. I don't know how, but I just know she did it. What an incredible woman.
But I think you did a really good job of playing a sexual character. Yeah. And it's not to say that Mav didn't, but like like it's a different. There's very much kind of like a passive sexual energy in Mav and like an active sexual energy in Cece. Yeah. And I think it was a good way to like age up or like the characters because of the topics we're dealing. Like if From the Ashes and the Lighthouse were the same campaign, oh god, not only would that have just been a lot for those people, but also like it would have felt like bullying on Lydia's part.
Yeah.
Like so having this like the positive elements of like being like a sexual adult,
Yeah.
as a way to age up the character, meant that the things that they were going through felt more age appropriate for them.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I think he did a really good job of that.
Thank
And the third thing is, I'm so glad Michelle got to play a class subclass that is just mechanically so powerful.
Yeah, it's really
Hexblades are incredible. I highly recommend them, guys.
yeah.
And I just remember, you guys couldn't hear because Michelle's very quiet and we have a microphone that's a bit of a way. But every time Michelle was going, I do so much damage. Every time she was looking at her sheet, like just whispering to herself about like, oh, I do all this.
In which case, I'm so sorry that you really only got 2 battles.
Yeah, but
with her.
Cece absolutely
but,
fucked
like,
every time. Like,
yeah.
she
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
decimated.
Sorry, I saved my own patron.
Yeah, like,
And
what the
I
fuck?
went toe to toe with the douchiest douchebag demigod.
Like, Cece was incredible mechanically and narratively, and I'm so glad that you got to play, because, like, historically in our games, you play, like, characters that are really good, but, like, really good, like, utility-wise.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
River was great, but every time we got to a fight, you felt a bit like, ugh.
Yeah, I
you have,
definitely
like,
lean
2
towards
good
support
spell slots.
classes and stuff,
So,
yeah.
You play a
having,
good
like,
bard, yeah, all those
I
things.
love
Yeah.
the bard.
having
Yeah.
you be the one that's not like a thing, I feel was a good experience for you, and B, I'm very glad you got to do that. Which leads me on to 2
Okay.
other questions,
You did.
which is why I wanted to go last.
Yes.
Battle Royale, who wins? And I think it's CC for that reason. Hexblades are insane.
I think it's L.
No.
Right, here's a real question.
I think it's definitely not Mav. I'll just put that out there.
Here's the thing. I think everyone could win. It would just depend a whole lot. Like,
Taking the emotional
you're in
aspect.
put us in a 15 by 15 foot room. Cece's just killing you both.
It's Jax.
But that's the thing.
Yeah.
L without Jax, I think Cece could do it. I think Mav could do it with like some good fireballs. L with Jax, no, we're dead. We're gone.
Jax
Yeah,
is
yeah,
great.
yeah.
I was so when we first did our draft
That
of this
fucking grapple,
campaign.
man.
Yeah.
When we first did our draft of this campaign, because we were actually more split up in that like first like session 0 than we were in the actual thing, and as a result, Jax got more time with the guys than L did. And so Jax, it felt like Jax was my character, and L was sort of about sometimes.
A shadow, yeah.
Yeah. So bearing that in mind, that we all think it's either CC or L, and none of us think that Mavs wins.
Sorry about that.
No, there's no way. There's no way.
Because there is actually another question on this list for me, and then we're done on this apart from this one.
Do it.
Lighthouse, no, not this one. Another one. Lighthouse characters versus From the Ashes characters. Who's winning?
So like Mav versus Surge, or all of us.
I
2 teams, I think,
yeah,
yeah.
I think it's 2 teams.
I mean, it's hard to tell because
Lighthouse.
you guys got up to... Firstly, you guys got up to level 8.
Yeah.
And you were like level 5 or 6 for the other characters, but you had better items in that final fight than the From the Ashes people ever got, I think. But I think it's the Lighthouse still.
Yeah.
I think it's the Lighthouse.
It's got to be the Lighthouse, yeah.
For the main reason that if you look at who's going to be going toe to toe, it's CC and Cam, and CC will beat Cam.
That being said, as Sweet Poison has just said, From the Ashes, because they've been through more shit. Now,
Post Island,
yeah. I think like on an emotional level, if we're going at it, see, this is when I get crunchy. If we're going at it from as just class wise, Lighthouse all day long. Having said that, if we're going at it from sort of like an emotional level as well, with RP involved as well, I think I'm with Sweet. I think
I don't know. I don't see a world in which Cam hits a crab.
No, but at the same
So
time,
yeah, again, it's just everyone's dead, but there's a crab that's going, what did I do?
I mean, Nyx was truly terrifying, and
Yeah.
Surge,
From the Ashes do have 2 powerful casters.
And I
like
think from the Ashes, if it depends if it was like an outright battle, like I know we're talking like Battle Royale, yeah, the Lighthouse for sure. But if it was like a Survivor-esque, like
Hunger Games more.
The Hunger Games. Oh, the Lighthouse wins for sure because
if it's Hunger Games, they have Elle like.
Well, not the Hunger Games. I was thinking
Yeah.
more like Survivor of like you have one side of the island, these have the other side of the island. From the Ashes outlast them.
If it's a street fight,
because they've had to
Outgrows,
learn how to be
outlives,
tactical and all of
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Whereas, the other guys were like reactive.
Yes, exactly.
By the way, speaking of Survivor, check
Game
out
Changers.
Michelle and my podcast coming out soon, reviewing every single episode of Survivor.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that is a podcast.
We could do that.
And then
Not with us.
One more really question which relates. Nikki, how did it feel having the potential first permadead character on the stream? And this is, I'll get ready for the most Nikki answer you've ever heard in your life. If it had to be anyone, I'm glad it was me. Real talk, like, I don't feel the way lots of people do about things. So this sounds like I'm talking to my therapist. If it was Michelle, it would ruin her week and or month. Like it would just genuinely, and it would actually make. I think it would have a bigger impact on my life if it was Michelle's character.
Yeah, I can see that.
And what I don't want to take that to mean is that I don't care about the characters. I do, but like my peaks and troughs are lower than everyone else's peaks. But you just have to pull my average down. Like, and that's not to say I care less. It's just that's as much as like the chemicals I have.
Yeah.
I'm not like other girls.
Yeah.
Or as Gru would say, I'm not like other girls.
Girls.
Also, like I've had plenty of characters die in other games.
You're used to it. What's this? Number 10?
I don't fear death. Me and the Reaper, we're good friends.
But how did it like? I appreciate what you're saying, but like, how did it? In that moment, what were your thoughts? Were you like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to make a new character? Were you like, oh, are the others gonna try and save me? Like,
I'll let Lydia explain what she had in mind for
okay.
Afterwards, in theory, if I didn't get revived. But honestly, I will always be very true to my character, and I know sometimes it comes across as it's what my character would do. And like we have a little like Wicked Game meme of like Nikki says no whenever Lydia puts something in front of him. It's not every time, but like
You're not afraid to say no.
No, I'm not. I'm not afraid to say no. Mostly because I don't respect Lydia as a person.
Obviously joking.
No, I'm obviously joking. I love Lydia. Like, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna fucking do it. Like, I'm just gonna fucking do it. Like, I'm not going to. I will, on occasion, make choices for the good of the stream and stuff like that. But they can't be at like genuine odds with my character. Otherwise, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
Fundamentally, I make characters with like a staunch belief, which sometimes gets tested. And like when Cam was like really going through it, and then there was a gig going on, and everyone was like, "We're gonna go to the gig," and like it totally made sense. Serge loves music, and Nick's had been reunited with their wife. Like they all made so much sense. I cannot fathom a world in which Cam, being the person he was, who was very sensitive to like stimuli, going like in the headspace he was in, going. So yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna go. And like we make jokes, and like we make jokes off stream as well. Like, oh, Nikki, like he always just says no to Lydia. I turned down a God's Boon in one of our home games because it didn't feel right for the character. Like, but it also sometimes.
Guys, I really try.
No, it also sometimes goes the other way. We were playing a home game, and I was just going through a lot personally, just in and of me. So I was like, right, I think I need to like not play D&D for a little bit. I need to like not play, and my character like went away, like said goodbye and all that stuff. And then like when the party got back to the town, they were basically taken to court, and they were like really struggling. And then Michelle's character wrote my character a letter.
Sending.
Cost sending,
Yeah.
sorry. It was like, hey, like, I'm not going to force you to do anything, but this is the situation we're in. And then Michelle told me what she said and sort of like the vibe, and then I went, oh, okay, like, and she's like, I actually didn't tell her I was going to come back. That was a really fun thing that me and Lydia managed to pull off. But I came back because I basically went, right, this character is very different to the person I thought them to be, or they come back. Like, they either go and they're not the person that Nikki believes this character to be, and they are fundamentally changed, and like I could never play them again because they weren't who I thought they were, or I come back. So then they specifically played D&D at another person's house, not our house, because I wasn't playing. And then I'd arranged with Lydia to show up in the middle of the court case. So
kick that door down.
She like narrated my character kicking the door down, and then was like, can someone go get the door? Nikki's outside. And they were like, what? And I'd like lied to Michelle, told her I was going to be at like a Pokemon like card tournament. You know, classic deception. But yeah, if it's going to be anyone,
it's the spice of any relationship.
But yeah, if it was anyone, I'm glad it would have been me. But at that moment, I'm glad that I made the choice to heal Jax.
Yeah.
And that fundamentally is what killed him. Like, because, you know, I could have killed this or attacked this dude and then healed Jax afterwards, but it's not who Elle is.
Yeah.
Like, Elle has this cavalier attitude to his entire life. He has that cavalier attitude to his life, and that radiates out to everything about him.
I think it would have been interesting, but it would have been a very different narrative if Jax had died. Because I don't, as terrible as it is, I don't think we'd have been as pressed to try and find a way to resurrect Jax. I think there would have been an element of
I don't think we could have.
No, that would, yeah.
Would have had a plan.
But Lydia, what was going to happen if we couldn't resurrect Elle?
Right. Well, first of all, I had a list. I mean, obviously there is less options if any of them had died, but I had a list of options for general, like, death purposes. And, you know, I think in past campaigns, certainly From the Ashes, I asked them to have a vague concept of a backup character, but I said, don't do that for this. I'll come to you with ideas. So when Elle died, I took, I think, 4 of those ideas to Nikki and said, look, the main thing here is that for most people, you don't have a choice whether your friends try and bring you back or not. You can then say the spirits passed on, so no thank you. But so I needed to know whether he was going to do that. And when he said, no, I think that Elle would stick around, you know, even if it wasn't because he knew that they would be screwed without him, that he would be essentially killing Cece and Mav, but also he would stick around and wait for Jax. I sort of knew that was in the thing, and I said, well,
for life, ride or die.
If the resurrection ritual doesn't work, let's here are my options for you. But I knew that one was stronger than the rest.
And it's an outright winner, like absolutely.
So,
like,
guys, come with us on this journey. I said, okay, so here's one concept: is that Anya and Shay have another sibling who will meet them as they go to the city and say, look, I think we just came from an island, but we're kind of forgetting all about it right now. But like, go, because those guys are fucking losers and they're definitely going to need some help. And so you can be a Triton on walkabout, or also because under the island they were making spawn. Now when you make sea spawn, you make them out of other things. So it would have been somebody that died falling off a ship, and the body was taken to be made into sea spawn, and then that process was stopped halfway through. So you would be somebody that after saving Joltish, your process of being turned into a sea spawn, you've been brought back to life, but not quite as a sea spawn. So you just crawl out of the ocean, and these guys will probably instantly try and kill you, but then you'd be like, no, please don't. I've just had the worst couple of months. started with me dying. And then the final option was Revenant Jax. And I just thought, you know, I actually wrote this whole scene, which made me cry when I wrote it, which was, I knew that if Elle died, Jax would absolutely be that dog that sits on a grave.
He's also not a giant crab. He's a normal crab who is hundreds of years old. Like, he's well beyond the life, which is why when Elle came back, he took that time to just, like, look at Jax and, like, drink him in. And it's why he said that thing of, like, if this is ever too much, like, you can go and I'll see you on the other side.
But so you know, that it would have been a fucking bummer, but essentially when the resurrection ritual or whatever happened to Elle happened and they buried Elle, Jax would sit on his grave and give up. And then there was this scene where he is then in the heavenly realm of the Swift Maiden, and a winged fox would sit next to him by a river and say, "You did such a good job. And I know you miss him so much. And he's just over there. But I wonder if you want to do one more thing and help his friends like he couldn't do." Oh, it chokes me up just thinking about it. And so he would have come back with, I like built him. I essentially said to Mickey, you'll have a monster stat block rather than a character. And he would have had most of what Jax had, but also these abilities that were a bit undead as well. And some kind of draining abilities that would have replaced the fact that the only person that could cast Cure Wounds was gone. So, but it would have been a bit more like vampiric, like taking hit points from the foe and giving it to either Cece or Mav. And then once he would have traveled back to them to the mainland and then gone to be with Elle.
It's like the was I a good dog? No, I hear you were the best, but for a crab.
Oh, Jax is the best crab.
He is the best. Hey guys, you make so many jokes about you're gonna eat the crab, and you guys love this crab.
Yeah.
You guys fucking love this crab.
Still eat the crab.
No, you don't. No, you fucking.
Imagine a bit of undead crab, a little bit of revenant crab, spicier.
Yum, yum, yum.
He's so old and leathery, like.
It'd be like crab kimchi.
Crab chili. That's the list of questions. Does anyone in chat have any other questions? Does any one of us have any other questions?
I think while we're waiting for, I don't know if anyone is interested in this stuff, but I thought I'd just add while people are putting questions in the thing. Joltish, because everything is always homebrewed, Joltish was made of a combination of a ancient sea serpent and a shadow, which is actually quite a low level thing, but I beefed it up. So he not only did he have a lot of things that you can get from an ancient sea serpent, but also he had the ability to lower people's strength score each round if he gets his tentacles on you, which he did lower the strength of Oscar a lot. And Oscar was made, I basically took an Ashen Rider, beefed it up, and then beefed it down because he didn't have a mount and because he was in Elska. He thought he was summoning Celestials, but he ended up summoning demons, fiends instead, which was why he was very confused when the Hellhounds turned up and he was like, what? That was not what I asked for. So yeah, he kept thinking he healed a lot every round except when he was in the lair within the like 150 feet, and that's why he kept like zooming all the way up. So in case anyone's interested in like building monsters, I or generally take a stat block that exists and then go, well, how's my guy different?
That's one of my favorite things that you do.
Say that again, Michelle.
Sorry, what was Oscar's mount?
It's like a winged
It was
lion,
a winged lion. The Ashen Rider comes with a winged lion mount. It's actually a really rad monster.
That's
and is and was the one of the, like, it was reading bits of Theros and going, oh, look at these fallen angels, like they've got all of these cool celestial stat blocks, and part of what makes that monster difficult to fight is that they're on a winged mount that has its own actions in the round. Yeah, it's a very cool monster. I can highly recommend it to people. But yeah, thanks, Tom. I do. That came out of you guys knowing D&D really well already, and I was like, it's not fun if you're spending your whole time going, can my character know that this giant is like going to keep regenerating? Like, how I know that my character doesn't know it, but can they have known it by now? That's actually not very fun. So
I was about to say it's
do that. Yeah.
It's yet another. I mean, we've said time and time again how much trust and how much kind of security we have in playing at your table, but like it's kind of an added thing, and also like it pays back to you as well. It's like it's that sort of level of trust that you can give to us to go, hey, you know what? Actually, like, even if I do know what a Medusa does, I know that there will be something else to this thing.
Still gonna look in those fucking pearly blue eyes.
Like, no, it's a really nice thing. It always adds a bit of spice.
Yeah, and also Elska, though I hadn't readied
I fucking
proper.
hated Elska.
I'm not surprised. She wasn't very nice to you. But she. I didn't have a proper stat. Oh no, I did have a stat block that I'd beefed up, but I didn't really pay much attention to it because I always knew that she wouldn't. Actually, I didn't know that because at one point, knowing what she'd said about Elle, I thought, I actually wonder at this stage if you guys are going to fight Elska, and then as part of the epilogue, I'll say, you know that you're on the side of somebody who's about to be a god. Like I thought at one point that you guys would side with Oscar and Elska. But yeah, but she this is, I don't know, maybe people really aren't interested in this, but for New Year's Eve a couple of years ago, I did a one shot for a friend of mine, which was a character they've been playing for a long time, and I made this one shot that was full of like toys and objects and stuff to play when we were drunk and taking shots for stuff like that. It was like a whole New Year's Eve party thing. And the basis of that story was a myth that there were two angels that fell in love across a battlefield, and one of them is being held prisoner at the bottom of the ocean. That is Elska's love. And they were so close, but yet they didn't know where they were. And that was what she was talking about when, that's what, and it got mentioned a couple of times by both Elska and Oscar, and she then is in this predicament of like, at the end, she didn't know what to do when she was finally free. Where actually does my heart lie? My instinct is to go and find my love, but will that make me a fallen angel as well? Do I have to go and, I want to make peace with Tish because that's my creator, but I'll never see my lover again if I do that. It's a really interesting thing that's been in my OneNote for a long time, and I was like, let's sling that in for good measure.
Love it. We have a couple of extra questions from people that we can always rely on. Sweet and Rooney, thank you very much for the new questions. Sweet asks, Lydia, what moment did the players surprise you the most with?
I think it's only a low level thing, but Mav suddenly going, fuck the lighthouse, I'm not going to fix it, kind of surprised me. And again, like, it's that thing that I frequently do of like, if we just had 3 more sessions, like, wouldn't it be fun to go into that? Because I also had in my notes, if I knew I wouldn't have time to do it, but I wanted that the lighthouse would go out and a ship would actually crash into the island. But I didn't want to do that because then it's like opening a can of worms just when you're finishing up.
That's one of those things where you go, fuck me, like, if only this were a slightly longer format, like we could go into all of that kind of shit.
I was definitely surprised by the fact that Michelle did not kiss Joltish.
That's
I
fair.
was gonna-
We were all surprised.
I was gonna ask about that because I
Kiss it.
know there was a lot of like this like will they won't they thing with Cece and Joltish, and so I wondered what your view of that was, because when we first was thinking of it, and the idea and Joltish and stuff, I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be fun and spicy and stuff, and I don't know whether it's just the timings of everything, but me and Cece never really got those romantic feelings for Joltish. That I thought would definitely happen.
And sadly, I think that was this was one of the things that I learned a lot about this campaign was a lot of RP moments I wanted to happen didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because normally in D&D, the pacing is much smaller.
Mm-hmm.
You only go through a couple of months of your character's life and you're already at like level 15 or something, because every day you can be earning so much XP. But I wanted this to be over the course of at least a few months, which we just about did. And what that meant was downtime and learning and your characters growing, and what got sacrificed from that, which I wouldn't change anything about it, but I will be glad to do things a little bit differently, is that I wanted little scenes between Joltish, and not to just say that they happen, but I wanted to show her secret places on the island and have those moments that where I could put you in that situation of like the beautiful evening, and that you're on this secret beach and you're skinny dipping, like what, and he's telling you how, all of that stuff happens, and then that's truly put Michelle to the test. Like what happens. And Nikki, you look scared.
Don't worry.
Sorry, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it, Lydia.
Yeah.
Everyone else has been saying they hated it, but I really enjoyed it. No, I really loved it. I think it's hard to sell someone on this as a concept for a game. To go, oh, we're gonna like a lot of time skipping, a lot of like splitting the party. Like on paper, it's all of the things they say you shouldn't do. But I think you did a really good job of it. Like let's separate the fact we had a big break because life happened and it happened hard. Even with that big break, without the very just reasons for it, it was excellent. I think you did a really fantastic job.
Thank you.
I like absolutely adore playing in your world. I'm sort of very happy that people have had a chance to experience like the small part of your world they have in the kind of like thingy games. Like I think the permanence of repeatedly playing in the same world is a lot of fun, and I think like it was nice to be in this like smaller space and like kind of play within like a playground. And selfishly, it was very fun to be a character who was so like mechanically adept to his surroundings, because I could just like it, and I think in a way kind of took away some of like the potential like minutiae and of going like, oh fuck, we haven't got enough food, which like would have been a fun problem to solve, but the bigger problems were more fun to kind of like shine a light on more often.
Joshi asks, how much did the characters and the campaign as a whole change over the break? Lydia, did your aims or plans for the campaign shift or change?
Not in big ways, but I think one of the things that happened over the break was we got, or maybe it was just me, but we were like, okay, we're going to start at this time. We have to finish by this time. And I think before the break, we were like, if it's 8 sessions, it's 8 sessions. If it's 14 sessions, it's 14 sessions. And so the first couple of, before the break, the sessions were a little bit more like stretched out. Like less happened in those. And then I came back and I was like, listen, we got 72,000 things to do this session. So shut up and get on the train. So that I think is mechanically the thing that happened differently.
Yeah.
bigger strokes. For
I think one of the big differences is that we all sat at a conference one day and said, okay, we need our first character death sometime soon, and it has to be out.
We wrote that
was one of
script,
the that was one of the scripted moments that like really needed to happen, you know. No.
I wouldn't say change, but I think that break, both from playing the Ashes and then doing the first half of the Lighthouse, me as not necessarily my character changed, but me as a player, I did sort of realize these are shorter, you know, these are shorter games. They're meant to be more bite size, so you kind of need to. It's a shame, but also it makes sense. Like I was say, you just need to shave off a bit of your character to be like so they feel fleshed out, but not so complicated that nothing like happens. So I think it's why Cece ended up not really talking about her wife a whole bunch, but I ultimately think that ended up making the whole campaign interesting. Of they were on this island for a year, which is a long time, but in the realms of like life, especially like L or other longer living races, that's not actually a huge amount of time. So it's good, like from my perspective, that Cece focused on the island and being in the present, and it was very much like it wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna deal with what to do with my wife's situation here. It was like, I'm just taking a break from that so I can grow, and then I will deal with my character's traumatic backstory then.
That's like me in real life.
Yeah, I'm gonna
just taking a break. I'm gonna deal with my traumatic backstory later.
Sick. I think we've gone through all of the questions now.
We have. Now I have a question for you.
Yes.
We have an announcement to make. Do we want to do the announcement and then, or do you want to do the announcement and sit for a minute?
We can sit for a minute.
I think we sit for a minute.
I'm happy to sit for a minute.
Okay, everyone, get comfy. Wait. We're not going to do it right a second, just because I want to make sure people...
Everyone sound off in the chat that you're here.
People who want to be back are back.
Yeah, make sure everyone's back. If you're here, we're going to drop our announcement for our next campaign, which we will be starting this time next week.
Next week, guys. 7 days.
We've all been working really hard.
And we've also been thinking about this campaign.
We've been doing that really difficult thing of loving this campaign, but also knowing we need to start thinking about this new campaign if we're going to start straight after. So
yeah, there are some elements to running a stream game that mean that there's like a Venn diagram of campaign thinking. It's been so hard. We've been sat there and like all of us at some point have had to go, like especially Lydia's had to go, no talking or think about the new campaign. I'm so excited for it, but we have to do the Lighthouse. We have to think about this right now.
When I tell you that fucking struggle was real.
Yeah.
Also, on another note, fucking the amount of times that I've been so tempted to leak stuff to people Sweet and people like Rooney and people like
Tom.
Gosh, I'm so happy that this is being shown now.
Okay.
Right, Lydia, you do the honours.
Yeah, go on, Lydia.
Wait, what?
Do us the honours.
Oh, roll the thing, Nikki, roll the thing. In the heart of Mar Idia, looking over the glittering city of Solaraire, is the world's finest centre of learning, the Divisia Census. For centuries, this school has hosted the rich and influential and the greatest minds to have ever lived. Geniuses, leaders, holy figures, and legendary adventurers all had their start here. Though the school is built on old foundations, you won't find more advanced facilities for the arcane, alchemical, artistic, or academic, all behind powerful wards. The Divisia Census has the finest and most comfortable sanatorium in the known world. We pride ourselves on the care we give to those whose encounter with magic ended with a broken mind.
Each year, we instruct students from far and wide in their chosen subjects and the rigours of life at the pinnacle of their field. There is no greater, safer, or more prestigious environment in which to receive an education. Lady Sophronia Epissimos, High Master of Divisia Census, welcomes you.
Whoa!
What do you think? Are you excited?
Oh, I hate it.
We're going to college.
I feel like we've done so much talking about the Divisia census, and so it's so nice that we get to do it now. It's I mean, yeah, it's now it's hard not to like spoil stuff all over again, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
But
I will say this much. So I'm gonna put that video in the Discord and we'll put it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
And we'll tweet about it and all that stuff. It's going on social media tomorrow. So that was for you guys, and it will go in the Discord. I will say this: our characters are in that intro.
Yeah.
Pick out which ones you think.
Yeah, let us know which one who you think is who and who you think is who. But Michelle did an incredible job on the line work and the character design. Lydia's voice. Guys, it's been a headache trying to get all of that together. But that is well and truly the four of us working together. Like Lydia's, Michelle's line work, like Lydia's like script writing and voice acting, Tom's sound design. Like it's that is.
Nikki putting the whole trailer together.
These packages are like all of us working together, and it's hard in this we're all got other things going on. So we're so glad we can kind of ramp up production. I'm so excited for you guys to see the new layouts and stuff that Michelle's done.
Yeah,
I'm so
we're not
excited
going to
for you
look
to
like
see the
this.
new
Incredible.
characters.
I've done some new Divisia.
We need a Divisia
overlay
Census Discord.
channel.
Channel.
We will make.
And then I will put the trailer in there, and then I will expect all of you to begin theorising who you're going to see us be in 6 days.
Oh my
6
God.
days.
7
6.
a week. That's 7.
Yeah, 6 days. Today's over.
Is it?
It's yeah. It is all very exciting. We're very excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be around NPCs. Ones that
I think there's a lot that comes out of what I've learned from doing home game college games is that they have I think why we all love that trope of college or school rom-coms or films that there are so many of those sorts of teen films, is that it's so fast-paced and fun, but actually it's a deep well of real stuff, which is my jam. I like to torture my players while we're all laughing. It hurts.
Yeah.
Whole jam.
it's fun, but yeah, we're doing university for people's mental.
But we're not kids.
We're not children.
College.
College. We're
For all you
firmly-
Yanks.
firmly
No.
American
It's not
man. Well, I mean, on that, I can't imagine there's much more to add.
No.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you,
Thank you.
Ash, for resubscribing. 21 months. Fuck.
Incredible.
I've got so much more planning for this charity week. It's just every time I see someone and it goes up to 20 months, and I'm like, fuck. Mr. Tomcat, thank you very much for subscribing with
Thank
Prime.
you.
Don't forget, if you have a Prime subscription, you can do a subscribe. Tom, thank you very much for gifting us up to Bespectacled Man. Mr. Tomcat, thank you for cheering. 30 bits for the hype train.
Thank you.
And Tavern Harriers, thank you very much for following.
Thank you.
Seven Harriers, you fucking rock. Thank you.
And there was a first time chatter whose name I can't remember. It was the third eye or something right at the beginning.
The Eye of Thoth.
I
Eye of
thought
Thoth,
you
thank
said some very funny things,
Yes,
and I appreciate you.
Thank you for that.
But it's worth saying. I think this is a tacky thing to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. You guys in chat, mostly you know us, and you know what you enjoy about us. And if there is if you think there's people out there that enjoy watching D&D content but don't want to come in mid blah blah, just tell them like
New
next
campaign,
Wednesday,
baby.
new campaign. There's not going to be too many like in jokes from last week type of thing, so you can start fresh, baby.
100%.
Yeah, come
And I
in,
will
start
say,
fresh.
as a final note, thank you very much to Lydia for running what amounts to a very complicated game story within the Lighthouse. It was so well done and it was very enjoyable. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Lydia.
It's my pleasure. It's my absolute pleasure.
And to the rest of
Let's
you,
do it again.
See you next week. Bye.
bye.
Nunchucks.